What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Bro Talk. I'm here with my brothers, Ike, Bilal, Mark G. It's so good to be back here again. If this is your first time on the show, appreciate that you're here. But we got a task for you. This is what we want you to do. We want you to go ahead and like the show. We want you to go ahead and share it with somebody. You can share it on your friends list. You can share it to the public, whatever you got to do. Get that phone out, share it with your people. Because we got a great topic that we're going to be talking about today. And with men, one of the things that we hold near and dear to our matter of fact, one thing that we like to protect is our feelings. But before we get to that, we love to do a check-in. How y'all brothers doing?
I'm protecting my feeling, man. I ain't talking about that right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm good though. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It starts. I'm good. Weekend was a little rough. Friday was the anniversary of my dad's passing, and it was my brother's birthday. So they coincide. But it takes an emotional toll. But Bruce said he protected his emotions. I can't even hold a straight face right now. You got it, Ike.
Everything I read, man. I can't top that either. So all is well, man. Had a great event this past weekend. So shout out to the Department of Recreation and Human Services, Youth Services bRho, man. They came out and did their thing. Hosted a job and employment fair that was focused on youth. And we probably had a few hundred people that actually came through and showed up. Got a bunch of young people signed up for the Summer of Opportunity program as well, too, which if you have a child that's between the ages of 14 and 21, 14 to 20, please make sure you get them signed up for the Summer of Opportunity program. I'm sick of hearing people saying they don't know anything about the Summer of Opportunity program. When every single year since 1925, the city of Rochester and Rochester Works has been holding an opportunity for young people to get jobs. I'm sick of going around the city and hearing people say, I need to get my kid a job, when there's jobs that go untapped into every single year. So, public service announcement. Please make sure you go out and sign your child up for the Summer of Opportunity program. www.cityofrochester.gov/SOOP. It's very simple. Do it. Don't get left out. That's all I got to say. Happy Monday, everybody.
And in the words of our dear friend from my alma mater, she said, if you inbox me and ask me where to find the link, you will not get a response.
Rewind the video, play it again. Matter of fact, since we started with this, share this with all your friends, right? Tell them to watch Bro Talk and tell them to sign their kids up. Because you don't want to hear them complain about their kids ain't got nothing to do this summer either, right? You don't want to hear them complaining about their kids ain't got no money and they sucking all their money dry, right? Share this with a friend. Tell somebody to tell somebody that knows somebody to tell somebody.
Hey, you heard it here, folks.
Word.
You heard it. All right, so let's jump right in to this topic here.
Hold on, how you feeling, bro?
Yeah, Kareem, how you feeling?
You ain't checking, man.
Oh man, I was protecting my feelings too. I was trying to get right into it, but no, I'm actually not feeling good right now, and not so much physically, but emotionally, I'm not feeling. I feel better, but I'm still working on that, man. Just we all, we know that there's been several deaths in the community, and just some losses that I'm dealing with personally, man. That really, it took a while for it to hit me. It hit me on Sunday when I was in church, and being in service. That was my first time being in a full service in a while because my kids been playing basketball and stuff like that, and usually the games are on Sundays. And it was just good to be back, man, in the house of the Lord, and just really feeling like I could just release, just let my emotions do what they were gonna do during that time, man. So, I got two good cries in, one in the beginning of the service and one towards the end. So I felt a release after that, man. Just letting all that stuff out, man, because it's not healthy. It's not healthy for me to do that. So, but other than that, I feel good in terms of my family, my wife, and my children, and I feel good at the job, all those things. And I feel really good with the brotherhood as well. There's an anniversary that's coming up in 2 days that I'm excited about. Your boy is going to be 20 years in the fraternity. Shout out to my dean, bRho Smith, and Dr. Leonard Brock, also my ADP. Shout out to Brewski, and shout out to Ike who came after. So appreciate y'all brothers, man. Much love for y'all, for me to be in this wonderful chapter here, man. So
you couldn't have did it without me, right?
Yeah. I'm just glad that I didn't scare you away.
Nah, it was intriguing at that time, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo,
yeah,
what is this
yeah.
dude doing? Like, why you keep sitting in the front and not talking to nobody, man?
I was like, let me get a part of that weight loss plan.
yo.
Listen, I only knew at that point. I only knew Slim Kareem. You know what I mean?
Hold up, man. What you trying to say?
Kareem is different, yo.
Yo, y'all see how they be trying to clown me, man? If I have high self-esteem, man, I'd be in the corner crying somewhere.
Nah, just Sunday in church again. Let you out a couple more tears.
Hey man,
can do that too.
We're off a chapter, man. When I was let me clarify this. When I was around, when I was in the Rock, all the one that's come through under me while I was in the Rock, and nothing, and no sensitive about them, no sensitivity about them. But the ones that came after I left, I don't know about that. It's a lot,
Oh, okay. I wasn't listening to you. I heard you.
I know you never listen to me, but your self-esteem is not low. So I ain't gonna talk about. I would never say there's not no softy and no alpha. There's a couple. There's a couple of them dudes.
You'll never find.
So listen, to make it through PA, you definitely gotta have thick skin.
Oh man, do you ever, man? Do you
or thick midsection?
Hey, like I said, and everybody have thick skin in PA. We got some softies.
Yeah, again, they in PA, but I said to make it. You know what I mean? You see the nucleus is we tight.
Different.
That
is true.
You're right. So,
nephew.
So let's start. What's up, baby? Let's start there.
Hello.
So,
hi.
When we talk about thick skin, man, and let's talk about that. And what does having thick skin really mean, right? Because we've said this several times throughout the years about just our bond, our friendship, our brotherhood, and we talk a lot about that thick skin. But for people that don't know us, what does that mean in a PG version?
I just think it's the epitome of brotherhood. If I tell people this everywhere I go, if I can't have people around me who aren't willing to be honest with me, you know what I mean? That's just what it is. You know what I mean? You can't be a part of my circle if you're not gonna be willing to be honest, and vice versa. If you can't accept honesty from me, you know what I mean, then I might not be the person that's ideal for your circle group, because again, it's gonna be laughs, it's gonna be jokes, but if you can extract the truth out of it, no matter how it might be delivered to you, you know what I mean, you'll grow. And that to me is brotherhood, you know what I mean? And then we have, that's only one aspect of it, you know what I mean? There's
hold on, before you go to the next part, B, what keeps men from being honest though? Because I think we can't gloss over that part. Like there has to be something that keeps people from being honest.
I feel like
at least when we talk
oftentimes
about relationship.
I feel like oftentimes they feel like the relationship isn't necessarily strong enough to to survive. Perhaps you know what I mean. A hard honesty. You know what I mean. But the reality is often people hide parts of themselves that they're you know what I mean that they're still struggling with, that they don't necessarily have a comfort or have reached a resolve about. You know what I mean. We grew up. I mean, the reality is growing up in a Black community. There was a lot of things that we learned, what happens in this house stays in this house. So there were things that we were still working through as young adults that, we didn't know how to open up to anybody about, because the space that we were, were reared in or conditioned in didn't allow for it.
But there's a reason why we said our parents or some parents said that phrase, like, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. There's a reason for that. I thought that part of that it was because of protection. Like we just don't airing out business because we don't want this family at any point to be broken apart.
I agree. I don't disagree at all that it was, that there was a degree of one of the things that we said in the fraternity, and I say it throughout my life, is discretion is the better part of valor. So there's an so you understand, that you don't just air everything, all your business out there, but you know what I mean. There were things that we definitely needed support in and through that. You know what I mean. Didn't it was having that paint with a wide brush, like just across the board mindset or mentality of if it happens here, it stays here. It wasn't all benefits in that.
Yeah. So when it comes to men, though, when it comes to us, like, so I give you an example. So if something happened in the house, and you don't, and the dad or the mom or whoever's in the house is like, "Yo, we don't talk about it. We just what happens here stays here," and people just move on with their lives. And then what happens a lot with young men is that they go to school or they go into these spaces and then they have more of a chance to acting out because they don't have that space to be able to do that, to be able to release that. Like me, I can do this at home, but I can go to church, release that, and then also get a word of encouragement and then feel better, afterwards.
So I guess piggybacking on that thought, I'm gonna ask a question. So do the young men in this era that we see, that we work with, that we engage with, they're in schools, do they have I'm looking at my dean face right now. Here we go.
Try to hold it.
What would you call the thickness of their skin, right? Because I see, and I even take it like to the street level right now, right? I mean, everybody's walking around shooting people now, right? People don't fight no more. You don't hear about fights in the street. You don't hear about fights in the hood, right? Yeah, it's paper, right? It's paper. We can talk about paper later, right? But
no, I'm saying that's the thickness of the skin that we.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I was just using that as a pun as well, right?
Listen, I'm trying to.
I'm gonna say it, but so, yeah. So it's. Why is that, right? I mean, I think we've been kind of having that conversation for a long time, right? But why paper soldiers, right, Vincent, right? But why is it that their skin is so thin and the response is to go out and shoot and go out and kill, or to go out and cry, or to go out and or whine or complain, right? Like when you think about all the stuff that's going on in schools right now, I think it's because people don't know how to either hold in those emotions, right, or suppress those emotions for a period of time, or at least share those emotions. They can't articulate them, right? So the response is what it is at this point. So that's my take on it, and that's why, or that's kind of the impact of that, or the product of young people having such thin skin these days. Dean, I wonder, bro, what you thinking, man?
I'm not thinking like
you over there.
He said, Bruce, like, this is a family show. I can't say what I'm thinking.
Kareem is in my head, man. Kareem is in my head. I'm trying to tell you. Kareem is in my head, boy. It's a family show, man. So I'm listening to you. I'm gonna piggyback.
So Vincent said in the comments, he said he had a student tell him that she don't know how to talk. Right? So it goes back to doesn't know how to properly maybe articulate themselves. If I'm misspeaking, Vincent, let me know. Yeah. So we're talking now, right? So okay, yeah. So I think a lot of that is that, right? Don't know how to effectively articulate it yourselves, right? And is that a byproduct of our education system right now, where we are? And there was a report that came out that was talking about the impact of COVID on young people, right? And thinking about then the report kind of talked about young people who were in middle school, high school, and their experiences. And I'm just kind of thinking about I'm really interested in this report when it comes out, because I know somebody's working on it, right? But what about those young people that the first thing they saw was another person when they left their house? The first thing, the only thing they saw were other people in masks, right? That was as their first images of humans, right? And then also thinking about that group of high school students that during COVID was their senior year, and they were promoted and graduated that year, right? And entered into the college level. What is the impact on them? Like what kind of impact are they having right now? And especially in particular our young men, right? We talk about all those emotions that they have to deal with, and they're just getting these social promotions, man. How does that impact them when they get to a whole new level of life and don't have those requisite skills?
I think Calvin explained it best, bro. I think what's up, Calvin, man? It's good to hear from you. Good to see you.
What's up, Dallas Cowboy fan?
Yeah, we love Cowboy fans.
But hey, he made a good point. He said it's also the fear of looking soft amongst their peers when expressing how they truly feel. And I'm gonna be able to tell you, man, like I see that even in the fraternity as a whole, like just in general, man, that people have moments, man, and they don't have nowhere to go, and they think like, I mean, I can go with my brothers and talk about this. And as soon as they start talking about it, they're looking at them like, yo, man, what you crying for, man? Yo, cut that out, man. That's not what we do.
Hold on for a second. A lot of Ike, you try to start something, Ike, where you ask a lot of different questions, right? It was different moving pieces. One of the pieces that family, especially in our culture, we always want to blame the educational system, right? Not saying that the education system is not part of it. However, they're not the whole entity. You know what I'm saying? Teachers nowadays, do more babysitting now than they ever, and we don't want to call it that, but it is what it is.
I think within our community, Fred, that we don't recognize that we are as parents a part of the educational system.
We are,
and I think that is that's a big mistake that a lot of people have, right? Like we just put in home training, but it's not even the home training. It's when your child goes to school, right? Do you have that relationship and that connection with your teacher where you guys are on the same page, right? Do you, or is it a situation where you're going into you're sending your child to school now, and you know how your child act at home, crazy as ever, right? But you expect that they're going to be a completely different person in school, right? And then when you hear something about your child, you go into the school and you got a problem with everybody that's at that school, right?
Hold on, let me say that
you gotta have that relationship. That relationship has to be there.
I don't think people don't expect their kid to be somebody different in school than they are at home.
Some people do.
They do.
I'm not saying 90%, right? But
I'm just saying they talking crazy because the reality is this. I think a lot of it is trying to emotionally like relieve their own guilt, right? When you know you haven't necessarily been everything you should be as a parent, you will defend your kid in wrong a lot. You know what I mean? So I think that's oftentimes what happens is parents feel guilty for not necessarily being there for their kids like they know they should be, or providing for their children like they know they should. So when their kid, you know, is dealing with a behavioral issue in school, they're trying to now get their children back, or you know, they're trying to get back in good graces with their kids. So they defend their kid in wrong. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I'll win my kid back this way. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the reality is now you and your kid wrong, and you've only taught your child how to, you know, regurgitate excuses. You know what I mean? Internalize excuse making. I think one of the things that, and I would go back a little bit before the COVID, because, you know, the reality is COVID. I've heard a lot of it. I was talking to one of my son's principals today, and he and I were talking about the impact of COVID, because, you know, it impacted a few years span, you know, in terms of like the school years that it overlapped. So
yeah, absolutely.
But if I rewind just a little bit before that, you know, in looking at the generations, right? Our generation, you know, we grew up having seen and witnessed the effects of the crack epidemic in our community, and we were like, "Yo, we ain't touching." You know what I mean? Hard drugs. We was like, "Yo, nah, we all set. We staying away from it." I'm not saying there aren't some who you know what I mean, you know, found themselves unfortunately caught up in it, but you know, many of us was like, "There's no way we're staying away from it." You know what I mean? And then, but for whatever reason, like there was this shift, and you know, Molly's, perks, you know what I mean? You know, all types of, you know what I mean? Like drugs became, it was like the thing to do. You know what I mean? It was, you know, that was something that was attractive. You know what I mean? And I don't know how or what made that the thing to do. You know, maybe it was the music. By then, I was a kid that I listened to rap heavy in the 90s, and you know what I mean. But by, you know, early 2000s, it was like, you know, it wasn't the same. And then when it got to that, you know, to this new mumble stuff, I was definitely, you know what I mean, I wasn't really listening to anymore. And then they started. Then it was got emo rap. So you know, so I'm just saying that to say, I don't know if it was the music or what it was, but there was a shift in the culture that we, rather than staying away from, you know, drugs, we and if you're going into school as a teenager, you know what I mean, you know, and you got a chemical imbalance because you're already on a cycle of drugs, you know what I mean, you know, it does not put you in a position to be, you know, successful in school without having that, you know what I mean. Once you come down off of that, now your emotions all, you know what I mean, all out of whack. And then, you know, you add if somebody hasn't had a meal, so there's a lot of factors and moving parts to it, you know what I mean, to what bRho was saying. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and I feel like, you know what I mean, this generation has been done a disservice because, you know, you can't discipline at home, and you definitely can't, you know, even attempt to discipline at school. And
you can't discipline at home. You can't discipline at home. Don't police come get them at home?
Listen, I agree with you.
Police come get them at home, right?
I agree with you.
Man, listen, there's a family show. Police knock on your door talking about, we heard you're doing this. Man, you quickly, you know, extend your middle finger and ask them to leave. Right? That's nice, politely say it in an educational way and tell them to go. Your kid, you try not to make sure they come there to get your kid and walk out in some cuffs.
I listen. I 100% agree with you, because I tell all youth this. I tell every youth I come in contact with this. I said, you're gonna ultimately follow somebody's rules. You know what I mean? Whether you choose to do it or you get made to do it, you're gonna follow somebody's rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and one of the things that I see, that is you know what I mean, like I don't think people play off the end game of it, right? I saw a young man be brought in to see a relative of his who had passed away, and he was being brought by sheriffs, and he broke down. You know what I mean? And I felt bad for him, because this is the part of the
Bad for what?
man, because nobody was really having those conversations. Like, listen, you got to play out this end of the scenario out when you out there doing whatever you're doing.
But
you know what I mean?
They are, bRho. I think they are, man, to an extent. Let me explain my point with that, because how many times have you, bRho, Isaac, bRho, myself have talked to a young person, be like, listen, bruh, like, if you continue to do X, Y, and Z, this is gonna be the outcome. If you
hear you
do this other thing, this is gonna be the outcome. But I think what happens is, that somebody had mentioned it earlier, is that our kids are getting something that I think, and our kids, and even people that we know just in our village and our community, giving our kids the tools to be able to effectively talk about their feelings, specifically our boys, when they're upset, when they're happy, when they're sad, right? When they're going through something. We're teaching them these things, because we know, just by working with the youth that we've been working with, we know that it's not always happening at home. It's not happening in school, unfortunately, and it's not happening in other places within their community. So I hear you with that, but everybody got a choice to make.
I'm not saying people don't have a choice to make, and you also ultimately got to live with the choices you make. What I'm saying is one bRho, Kareem, Isaac, or you know what I mean, whomever else, right? Does not we're not enough of a counterbalance to the 10 folks. They go right into their neighborhoods and homes who are like, yo, listen, man, you got to get it how you can get it, man. Forget what them cats talking about, man. They ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you got bills to pay, you got to eat, you got to, you know what I mean? So yeah, and then here's the other part, right? See this, and this is the part of that I try to also tell them, like, listen, man. See, and Kareem, you don't know nothing about this, right? You know what I mean? I'd be like, yo, listen, man. No, I'm not. See, you think I'm clowning. I'd be like, yo, don't let these little slacks fool you. You know what I'm saying? Don't let these little button ups and high bottoms fool you, because I'm from where you from. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm from the same neighborhoods. I walk in the same streets. Yeah, you Gates. You don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, yo, but when
you know nothing about that.
Yeah. When I'm you know what I mean? Tuesdays and Thursdays, when I take my son to football training, shout out to CTC, Greg Hopkins, and you know what I'm saying, and the team and the crew. They're doing an amazing work over there, man. Man, you talking about, it's like 30, 40 parents, you know what I mean? Like, that sit there for the time. That's not counting the parents who just pick up and drop off. But you got kids in there to, man, 9:30, 10 o'clock, man, doing something productive, positive, you know what I'm saying? Not looking for nothing, you know what I mean, negative. That could absolutely be choosing those paths and those routes. But I'm saying that to say, when they only see this end of you, see this version of you, it's hard for them to comprehend. Like, yo, man, he say that, man. So it's hard for them to be like, yo, I got bills right now, I got life right now. Miss me with all that, you know what I mean? You go to school and all that talk.
Hey, man, B, let me say this, man. We need to stop making excuses for these kids, man. You know what I'm saying? These kids, their circumstances are different, right? We get that. But they have to want to be great. They have to want to be good, bro. And these kids, I don't know if they don't know what good is or great is. They have to want that. It's something inside of them I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if it's the grandparents is missing out of their lives, or the grandfather is missing out of some of these young people's life. But we have to stop making excuses for these kids, man. And these kids, I look at the generation every day. My son is growing up, man. I'm telling him, yo, you got to be great. You want to be great. What do you know? And I'm creating these boundaries and creating these things for him, right? Even if it's the one thing I know how to create, that's going to make him good. He has to want to be good. You know what I'm saying? He has to want to do that, man. And I know it's 3 or 4 of us here on this podcast, and we do our number of talking to a lot of these youth. And a lot of them, although our positiveness, man, don't spread on them. They're going to do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? But we still making excuses for that. I'm not making excuses for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to see, Josiah, open the door. I'm going to meet them where they at, bro. I'm going to meet them where they at. I'm going to give them the love. I'm going to give them, I'm going to give them everything they need. I'm going to give them the tools. But if they don't use those tools properly, oh, well, man, you got to do what you got to do, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of that. I'm tired of, making excuses for them.
I think what's happening, bro, is that, there's that old story about the prodigal son, right? How the prodigal son wanted his inheritance early, and he went and did a whole bunch of stuff, partied and spent all the money. But I think the important part of that story is that at some point he looked at himself in the mirror and was like, dang, I messed up. And not only did he do that, but he came back home. And when he came back home, his father, who he got the inheritance from, welcomed him back, open arms. And I think, man, our kids and even grown people feel like if they mess up and they do something bad, or they feel like they do something that's unforgivable, they don't have nowhere to go back. And so now they stuck out in the world trying to figure it out and holding it all in because they feel like if I go back, then they're not going to. Prodigal has nowhere to go.
Again, I don't disagree. I think Brew makes great points in terms of, but I feel like it's got to be there's got to be all the approaches, right? There's got to be somebody in your, you know what I mean. I tell people this all the time, man. On your team of success, you know what I'm saying. You got somebody who's like an accountant. All they do is hold you accountable. They don't ever cut you. No, it's no shorts with them. No breaks. You know what I'm saying. And then you got like on the other extreme end of that, you got a cheerleader. That's like, those the nice grandmama who be like, oh, it's gonna be okay, baby. So you need all of it. You know what I'm saying? You need somebody who's, trying to come out the mud like you trying to come out the mud. You know what I'm saying? You need somebody who's already made it out the mud. You need people from all different angles that are helping work with you towards, you know what I'm saying, getting you to the place that you ultimately want to be. Because there's definitely what we're experiencing is we're experiencing a lot of youth who are ultimately ending up in places they don't want to be, and we don't want to see them. You know what I mean? I keep going back to this. I had this conversation with somebody just this weekend. Man, Kyle Rittenhouse, you know what I mean, who was acquitted when there was no question of identity and whether or not he killed 2 people during a rally after he traveled across state lines with a firearm, with a rifle. You know what I mean? He was acquitted. But to me, the message that was being sent by that, you know what I mean, by that judge is we're not giving up on our kids. If they look like us, we're going to try to do everything that we can. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we are providing them opportunities to, show us that down the road they're not gonna make a host of bad decisions. They're gonna make something of their lives. You know what I mean? And I feel like we have to do the same. We got to continue. You know what I mean? So that's why, you know what I mean. To Ike's point earlier about about the job fair this weekend. You know what I mean? Man, shout out to every parent that brought their kids, brought somebody else's kids. I talked to a number of parents who brought their kids' friends with them. You know what I mean? Shout out to those parents because it takes a village. We got to continue to be the village that, you know what I mean? And, you know, so shout out to Isaac, man. He was the captain of you know, making it happen. Everybody kind of facilitated something on the team to try to make, you know what I mean, make us make it a great event, and it was, you know what I mean, a great turnout of youth. But again, to see parents bringing their kids and bringing their children's friends, man, that was powerful to me because we all gotta reach and grab. You know what I mean? It's disappointing to hear so many people saying that they don't know about Summer of Opportunity.
That's
let
crazy.
me
It's been around for years.
Yeah. Well, again, sometimes. So what happens is
beyond that, though. Yeah.
But sometimes what happens is it gets lost in name change, right? So when I was a kid, it was Good Grades Pay. Right. So if you're from that era of Good Grades Pay is now called Summer of Opportunity. You know what I mean? So if you're looking for summer jobs for your kids and you was like, oh man, they don't do Good Grades Pay no more, it's called Summer of Opportunity. Get your children and your youth connected to it.
But not only that, though, because I have to say this as somebody who was connected to this program at one point. Yo, when your kids bring home that paycheck, like they work for that money. Come up with a plan, come up with some sort of way in order to maximize that money. But parents, I'm just saying, don't take your kids' money. I'm sorry. Don't take the money. Like you gonna take it to take care of responsibilities that you're supposed to be taking care of. I can't really get with that. I don't understand. I can't say I understand because I don't, because I grew up in the suburbs with two parents. But like I couldn't understand. Like I just couldn't understand that they worked and then they take it, then they feel like they worked the whole summer for nothing because now they gotta get their money up. Like you know, with that, maybe it's privilege and maybe it is our own piece, but I've seen kids, man, work and then their money gone.
You know, it's interesting because and Isaac, you can definitely jump in because I don't want to dominate, but I think about like my grandmother. My grandmother talked to me growing up a lot about how she was, you know, she didn't go to school much. She was in the fields working. You know what I mean? Like children helping kind of, you know, hold down the household has always been a thing. You know what I mean? Like it's always been a thing. So you know, I just feel like, you know what I mean, that's always, you know, as much as youth, you know what I mean, shouldn't be expected to pay household bills. It's like it's not like it's a brand new thing, you know what I mean? It has existed for generations. And you know, so but there's got to be some way that we can, you know, make sure that kids are, because we definitely live in a different generation where if you ain't going back to school in a fresh pair of kicks or, you know what I mean, or in some jeans and a, you know, if you're not looking right, man, it's surviving is going to be crazy. Trying to survive that is going to be crazy. And I think, you know, this does tie to a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, because again, these are the things that, you know, what grown man who dealt with this as a youth has found, where have they found a safe space to be able to outlet these things? Like, yo, I had to, you know what I'm saying? You know, I had to work, you know, and give up my summer checks or whatever, my little money. You know, I couldn't buy back to school clothes and supplies because, you know, I had to, you know, and I went to the RG&E or that went to whatever, you know what I mean? Like that, people are still trying to heal and process from this stuff. You know what I mean? People,
yeah,
these are deep wounds. These are deep wounds. Yeah, you know what I mean? That people are dealing with.
And if they don't give up their money, right? What is to the so you're selfish or not gonna help out the house? You know, like
it's not even an option.
Or lights are out, or the lights out. You know what I mean?
So
yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some young people now. I mean, it's like bRho said, man. It's a timeless challenge, right? That families have, and any money coming into the house is not money that is extra. It's money that's needed, right? It's money that's needed to survival. So there's a lot of young people find themselves in those situations. I mean, there's a lot of young people that find themselves in situations where, like we alluded to earlier, like their parents just going to take it. It's not a matter of it's yours, you earned it at all. Like we're not even having that conversation. It's, any money that come in this house is mine, right? It comes through me. Like if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here right now, right? And that becomes the dialogue. So
and then what happens when they get old and they have a family? Now how do they act now, right? Like what's that conversation like?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully at some point that trauma, that trauma makes you break that. I mean, I think there's some things that we've all gone through as kids that we said we're not going to put our kids through that as well too, right? There, no matter what it is, right? There was something that we experienced. It's like, I just got to make sure that my child never experiences that, right? Because I remember what it did to me, right, and how I felt, and those emotions, that made me feel. So hopefully, you're the type of person that will want to break that cycle, right? But we know the reality is that a lot of times that isn't the case. It's what I experienced. This is what happened to me. This is what you're gonna get, right? And we can't get out of our own way, right, to be able to realize that just because I had to go through that, right, just because I had that struggle, doesn't mean that it's something that necessarily benefited me, or doesn't mean that's something that you have to do for your life to, for you to be able to overcome, or say you overcome something. I was listening to Gilbert Arenas. He has a podcast. He ain't paying us, but I shouted him out. And so he was his son right now is he's nice, like he's a solid baller, good basketball player. But he mentioned that his son didn't even know he played basketball until he was 10 years old, right? And he just, kind of talked about that whole experience of like all the kids that, how he can like reach out to Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, right, for motivation, for his son to say like, yo, how many shots did you put up today, right? And then he don't got to say anything. He just shows it to his son, like, this is what you need to be doing if you want to get to this level, right? He's got those experiences. But one of the things that, was interesting that he mentioned was that he said, all of that generation, right? The Melo's son and his son and the James kids, right? They're all coming from a place of privilege, right? So they'll never understand what he had to go through. They'll never get that killer instinct because of they're trying to get out of a certain situation, right? They have a whole different lifestyle. They got to find motivation in a completely different way. And many of them are, right? They figure out what that is. And sometimes it's just having those conversations with their dad or mom or, a family member to say, this is what I had to go through. You didn't have to live it, right? But you have an understanding of what it is. And I think we got to get more in the habit of normalizing that, right? Normalize, we can tell the story, right? History is history. History will always be there. Slavery was always, always going to be there. Civil rights movement was always there. Those struggles of segregation were always there, right? But we don't have to live it to know that it's something that, was wrong. And we don't have to overcome those things, to know that, to have a sense of pride and have a sense of strength, knowing that, we can get through those things because our ancestors did it. There's no reason of trying to relive that. So I think sometimes just you being able to share that message, right? It can be motivation enough. It doesn't necessarily have to be that lived experience.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely try to show my son glimpses into because I think that's the documentary is again based on the book of by Ty Nessy Coates, Between the World and Me. I watched that documentary with my son, and I try to watch it often. You know what I'm saying? Not every so often, because there's a part in it where he's talking to his, narrating to his son, like, man, all I really have for you is the struggle. You know what I mean? And I need for my son to know that, like, yo, the one thing, I think the thing that we try to do sometimes as parents, the thing we try to extract from our experiences coming up is the struggle. And the reality is man, everything you want in life is on the other side of that grind, that struggle. You know what I'm saying? So you're not gonna get it without that struggle. You're not gonna get it. You know what I mean? So I try to, let them know, like, listen, everything you get, you're gonna have to work hard for it. You know what I mean? And
See, I think that narrative though, I think that's something that we've been fed. Like everything we do, we got to work hard for. There's people right now that's getting stuff, they ain't working hard at all. They just not. And I think systemically has a big reason for that. But that ain't everybody narrative, man. Because I grew up around cats, they weren't working hard, and they was getting it because of who they were and what they looked like.
And that's cool for them. My kids don't look like them and don't come from where they come from. So you know what I'm saying? As much as they don't have the same struggle that I had growing up, you know what I mean? The more I can get them to embrace the grind, the more I ensure that not just my kids will you know what I mean, be okay with it. Because I look at it like this. When I look at everything that my job as a father boils down to, it boils down to being able to prepare them for when I'm no longer in existence. You know what I mean? That's what tAlk said. He said, a man who has not prepared his children for his own death has failed as a father. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta prepare them. So if I know that no matter what it takes, you're gonna grind to get it, you know what I mean? If you have to, in the right way, then I can at some point, whenever that day comes, I can transition with a peace of mind. Like, they're gonna be all right. They're gonna survive. You know what I mean? Because again, taking a look at I don't think it's right that parents are taking their kids' checks and stuff. Like, true story. A couple of summers ago, a parent chewed out a staff person, about where their child's check was. It was like their child's check didn't come. And again, shout out to the people who have come. So we now have a system where even though you aren't usually able to get their own bank account until a certain age, we've allowed it to be that there's been processes put in place so youth can have their own summer bank. They can have their own bank accounts, so this type of stuff doesn't happen. What happened when it was looked into was that youth's check was deposited into the account that the parent that had gave them, but the parent's account had been overdrawn because of some purchases they made. And so when the check hit, it was only clearing the overdraws, you know what I mean, and the fees related or associated to it. So when the bank responded with that, it was like, how do you know what I mean? How we really, you know what I mean? How do we really combat that? It's like, you know what I mean? We got a long way to go, and we got a lot of work to do to get there. And it's just really making sure that we can get our kids to embrace the grind, to come up out of the, you know what I'm saying, to wherever they starting at. No matter where you start in this race, man, you got to grind. You know what I mean? Your parents, you're able to establish a foundation for you, but you grind, right, Kareem?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. Like, it's the grind that you gotta be willing to grind for it.
Yeah, it's just making sure, it's just figuring out ways to make sure that young people have those skills, right? And whatever it is that instinctively makes them want to go and get more is feeding into that, right? And that's the key. Like, a lot of young people I'll talk to, now is, I'm like, well, I mean, just this Saturday, I was talking to a young man, and I was like, yo, we got this opportunity. You come to this program. It's a job training program, 4 days, boom, you in and out. 4 days, at the end of that, you get a check, right? I'm not going to say how much the check is, but if you apply for the program, congratulations to you, right? And you get a quick check at the end. So, and mom was sitting there like, oh, that sounds great. And kids like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I'm like, so what are you doing? Like, what you got going on this weekend? I'm not doing nothing. So you was about to sit around and play video games all week? Yeah, that was the plan. And I'm like, so you can still do that in the evening after you get home, right? But go and learn these skills, get these skills over the next couple of days and get a check, right? You want some money, right? You want to buy another video game, you want to get some kicks, but you don't want to work for it. So just figuring out I think that's the key. What motivates a young person, and to want more and to want to do more. And I don't think it's the same thing for everybody. And just thinking about our parents, the struggles that they went through aren't the same struggles that we went through, right? There's similarities, but they're not the same, right? The struggles that we go through, it's not the same struggles that my kids go through. I'll never understand what it means to be picked on via social media. That's just something I can't fathom, right? But that's something that happens in schools every single day. And just thinking about that, right? I could be getting bullied 8 hours a day at school, right? Kids today, they could be getting bullied 16 hours a day, right? Because they're getting bullied in school, and then when they leave, they got the same thing going on. I know I'm using the word bullied. I don't know if I really believe in it, but it happens, right? So I think every generation is different. The nuances are different, and we just gotta figure out what it takes, and what it means to be that motivation for our children, and even if they're not our children, for children that we know need it. So.
Well, we also got to wrap up as we get close to time. So,
yes, sir.
You muted,
bro.
I'm gonna say this to parent or family members out there, man. Take your kids traveling, man. Let them see something else. It is so important to their mental capacity. Take your kid out of Rochester. Take them out of Buffalo. Take them out of Cuse. Take them out of New York City. Whatever. Let's take them traveling somewhere. Save money. And if they're working, have them save a portion of their money. Take them on a cruise. They have 3-day cruises. Just let them see something totally different, man. It is so important when kids travel and see the world, man. It helps. I'm a big believer in that. You know what I'm saying? One of my ultimate jobs, if I wish I could have, is to get money from the government and rehabilitate some of these kids that people think is menace to society. You know what I'm saying? Give me all of them bad kids or whatever y'all call them bad. I don't call them bad. They just need special attention. You know what I'm saying? Give me all of them and give me some money and stay out of my way. You know what I'm saying? Y'all will wonder, like, what is in the Jamaican sauce?
It's in that stewed chicken.
Hey, and trust me, man. I'll have these kids traveling. They be working. They be earning their little money for their pocket. They be on a flight again, going somewhere again. Man, listen, man. You gotta have these kids traveling, man. And that's all I'm gonna say, man.
Even just exposing them, like, you know what I mean?
Expose them.
Like you touched on one of the conversations that we were having amongst ourselves last week was about what's going on in Haiti, man. Like we got gangs and they ain't seen, like, listen, the gangs in Haiti took over the government. Bruh, that's ganging. You know what I mean?
Haiti always gang. They always doing something.
But my point is like we think we have it rough, we think we have it bad until we see somebody who really got it. You know what I'm saying? Like way worse. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the travel, or at least exposing. Like, yo, listen, man, look at what's going on right here, right now. This is not back in the 1900s. This is happening right now, 2024.
Right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yo,
I think that's a good spot for us to wrap, man, because it's past my bedtime.
Yeah, well, listen, yo, we it's a good place to stop. You know what I mean? I'm gonna suggest this. We might get off this live, but this dialogue might continue, and y'all might see a clip afterwards on because the reality, this is some real stuff that's happening in our community, and so we know we can't keep y'all forever, but you know what I mean. There's you know what I mean. This discussion might go on for a little while after the scenes, but since we here, yo, I gotta shout out. You know what I mean. You know, I know we had our shout outs. Listen, Rochester, stand up. You know what I mean. In the men's and women's side, we had rock representation in the tournament this year. You know what I mean. On the men's side, man, we had Melvin Council Jr. Shout out to man. Listen, yo, if you from the Rock, you remember Boom, man. Listen, Londa, Dylan, man, right from the Southwest side. You know what I mean. Yo, these are babies. You know what I'm saying, that we watched grow up in the neighborhood. You know what I mean. Doing it on the highest level. You know what I mean. And representing. So shout out to man, young Melvin Council Jr. Man, you balled out, brother, and you know what I mean. Even though y'all wanted to, I'm sure that's not where y'all wanted y'all season to end. You know what I mean. You made the Rock proud. I'm sure you made your parents proud. You made your community proud. Your coaches, your schools, everybody, man, is proud. And Diasia Fair, man, Edison Tech's own, you know what I mean? Stand up Edison Tech alum for Miss Fair. Listen, she is finishing her career as the number 3 all-time leading NCAA women's scorer. You know what I
mean? And on to the next level to do even more, right?
Absolutely. Her career definitely won't be ending with this game. They took a tough L to UConn today, but this young lady is a baller. I mean, she got ice water in her veins. You know what I mean? So if you have not seen her hoop, shame on you, man. Watch this young lady. I mean, she get buckets, and you know what I mean. Matter of fact, she's a bucket. Like she is a bucket. Like you can't stay in front of her. She'll pull from everywhere. I mean, you know what I mean? These young people making us proud. And I got to shout out, man, my man Wendell, his son is playing. I forget where he's playing, but he's killing it. You know what I mean? Killing it. So if Vince, if you know where Wendell Barnes' son is playing, man, throw it in the chat, man. You know what I mean? He Luca Barnes on the book. You know what I mean? But his son is killing it right now. So and I'm sure I'm missing others, but yo, I just wanted to shout them out, man. You know, rock stand up. And last thing I got last shout out. I'm not clowning Kareem. Brandy posted and shared that, you know what I mean, she'd like for us to get the wives on, so we ain't forget you, sis. We gonna get our wives on here, you know what I mean, and and let them hey, talk about it, bro, talk about it. So shout out to all the wives, the spouses.
That might be the last episode of Bro Talk right
there. Man, you in trouble, bro. Isaac, you in trouble.
And shout out to my amazing wife.
Bro. It was fun while it lasted.
Shout out to my amazing wife, man. I love you. Thank you for all the support, especially this weekend. You know what I mean? She knew, speaking of feelings, man, she knew I was tender this weekend. She knew, man, it's exhausting trying to process death and grief, you know what I mean, of a father and a sibling, you know what I mean, losing them so close. But she's amazingly supportive, so I appreciate you. And to my bishop is recovering from surgery. Bishop, prayers, love, you know what I mean, and we got you. However you need us, we got you.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Full Gospel Tabernacle, man. My pastor over there, Pastor Ernie Walker Jr. Shout out, man. Shout out to my sister Rachel Grant, the Grant family, Mama Grant, Daddy Grant. Shout y'all guys out.
Yeah, man. Shout. Okay.
You want to go? You want to go last? You always go last, bro.
Yeah, do your thing.
Right.
Oh, okay. My wife had called me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo,
why you ain't say her name on the show first?
Nah, it wasn't even about that.
Were you sleeping in the attic tonight?
I ain't got no couch up here, but yeah, definitely want to shout out. Yo, I want to shout out, man, the bros this past weekend, man. I want to shout out to you, bros, man, for sure. Again, man, 20 years, inside the organization, and I know there's, a lot of talk about who we are and what we stand for. But I'm gonna tell you, man, one thing I know for sure, and two things I know for sure, and one thing I know for certain, man, is that y'all my brothers, man. I got blood brothers that I'm close to, man, and I also got an extension of you brothers here, man. So I'm telling y'all, like, I tell people this all the time, man. A couple things happened. One, I got better academically. That was the first thing. I got better academically. Number two, I went from having 3 brothers to having a ton. And then number 3, what happened for me, man, is that I had this emotional, spiritual, physical transformation that was beautiful, man. It has set me on such a trajectory right now. I tell people all the time, man, that I grew up in church, but when I went to college, man, I stopped going. I was like, man, I ain't going. I had a Bible.
You were sitting.
Sometimes I was sinning and grinning, man. And when I got a hold of these brothers, man, and shout out to James Waters Jr., because he was like the main person that was making us go. He was like, "Oh, you going to church?" I was like, "Oh, word." So I started going back, man, and not so much about going to church, but my relationship with God, man, it grew from that point on, man, and it's been beautiful ever since. So, I think, the brotherhood for a lot of things, man, and I think, this opportunity has also afforded me to speak life into other brothers, man, young cats now. Like, I'm at an age where I was talking with a young brother today, man, and we was connecting on a level we had never connected on before, and I can tell when I was talking to him, man, it was like saw me a different way. He saw me like as a real person. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, like okay. And I think when you find out, man, you the real deal, that it really makes for a deeper relationship, man, deeper connection. So love y'all, brother. Shout out to y'all. My Bilal, who met me in high school as a senior on a recruitment trip, and Brock, who I met in the college union, man, looking all scary. And I just thank y'all brothers, man.
Isaac, don't start. Don't start.
I was just thinking
Isaac, I know you.
He was like
I was just thinking, like, yo, that was the first time I saw Brock too. Was that like the standing on the steps at the college union, man? I think it was like him, Brew, and I don't know, but he was there that day. But yeah, but I'm like walking past, and I'm like, yo, who are these big old dudes? That it was a different word, family stuff. But staying out here. But yeah. Shout out to Dr. Brock, man. Much love, brother. Much love.
Yeah, man. So
yo,
appreciate
it. That's
all I gotta say.
Man, Kareem, shout out to you, man. For 2 years post-op, man. You know what I mean? This brother underwent, a procedure that again, many would be afraid to undergo, you know what I mean? And this brother, man, he faced it, man, and he here today, you know what I mean? It just adds to your testimony. So I'm not going to say no more than that, you know what I mean? Because it's not my testimony to give, but we're looking at a miracle, you know what I mean? So, and I'm glad you're still here, bro, because I love you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Love y'all, brothers, man. I was reflective on that today. I didn't want to, take up too much time with it, man. But I thank you guys. My wife, she was my caretaker for 2 months, man, and
yes,
it's kind of hard to talk about sometimes, man.
You gonna tell her when she asked the doctor?
Yeah, man. Let's just say it took 2 months to get to that point. So I had to make sure I could breathe right, before I get to that.
Make sure your heart ain't skip a beat.
Hey, man, listen. He said if you could walk up the steps, and yeah, you could do that other thing too.
Yeah, y'all see The Color Purple? How'd he die?
Yeah. Hey, the doctor wanted to make sure I could live through it. That I did.
Yeah, we started wrapping up this show 15 minutes ago, man.
Yeah, we did.
So let me get through this real quick, man. Shout out to everybody that popped in the chat, man. You know who you are. Donald, it was great to see you. My guy Calvino, good to see you, man. Who else we got in here? Sister Carpenter, we appreciate you coming on, showing love again. Yes. Thanks for coming on last week as well, too. And of course, sorry, I'm scrolling, trying to read everybody. Lance McKinnon. So shout out to you for popping in, man.
Lance is on here?
Yeah. I'm not sure who the brother is, but appreciate you coming on.
Man, grew up with Lance.
Okay. And then shout out to, of course, Vincent, who was in the chat heavy today. We appreciate you always, brother, for tuning in, man, sharing your insights. Is much needed. Your voices needs to be heard as well, too. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to my wife, who's a little bit under the weather, for the last couple of days. So brothers, keep her in your prayers as well, too. She definitely held it down. And then just want to give a huge shout out to, what we're, something we were talking about a little bit earlier is making sure that young people get out of Rochester. So we're going to be taking a group of young people down to the DMV area to go on an HBCU tour during spring break. Grateful to be able to, provide that opportunity to young people in the city of Rochester. So shout out to the team again, for putting in that work and making that happen. And then, it just happens that they're all Black. So shout out to all the Black people doing Black things. Keep doing your thing. Go out, support Black business, a small Black business. It's still Women's Appreciation Month. So, or Women's History Month, right? Which one? It's both.
Yeah.
All right. Women's Appreciation Month. So, go out and support a MWBE. It's got to have all those letters in there, right? Not just one or the other. MWBE this month. All right. And I think that's it. Great show, brothers.
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate everybody watching. Have a good night.